it is incredibly powerful. And it's very, very important when we get through that we understand that we are still alive and life goes on, and the experiences we've had will make us stronger and wiser, so much wiser.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I talk with fascinating, talented, and inspiring guests who reflect on the adventures and challenges of aging and who are living their lives with vibrance and purpose. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, psychotherapist, writer, and fellow Zestful Ager. And if you like this podcast, you'll love my companion courses, Zestful Aging, Simple and Sustainable Habits for Health and Longevity, and The Wisdom of Mindful Eating. Now, for 1 month only, I'm putting both of my online courses on a radical sale. Both The Wisdom of Mindful Eating and Zestful Aging will be $19.99 each. Both of these courses have received rave reviews. They're fun, straightforward, and have the ability to change your life in the direction of more peace and less stress about eating and around aging. No extreme diets or punishing exercise. More about creating habits that feel good and are sustainable, which is health promoting and leads to a longer, happier life. This offer will expire January 31st. Find out more at NicoleChristina.com. Well, I have my Jack Russell Terrier Sparky right beside me and my coffee in my hand. So let's begin. Today we will be speaking to Antonia Rolls, who lives in the UK in a little town called Bognor Regis. She's a professional artist and a soul midwife, a healer, and a writer, and she's created the Graceful Death exhibition, Portraits and Words from the End of Life, and I'm going to ask her to speak more about this really unusual and beautiful exhibition. She has 2 sons, a daughter, and 2 delicious little grandsons, and she loves to drink tea and eat cake. Oh my goodness, a woman after my own heart. Welcome to the show, Antonia.
Thank you very much, Nicole. It's lovely to be speaking with you.
Oh, yes, I'm excited because we've had a really nice conversation before, and there's so many things that I want to ask you about. But just to begin, could you please define soul midwife for our listeners? They may not be familiar with what that is.
Yes, a soul midwife is a holistic end-of-life companion from any point from diagnosis right up to death. A soul midwife is very much like a death doula, and I think there is a huge wave of people wanting to work with people at the end of life in a very holistic and community-based way. So I am a support and I am a friend. So when people need encouragement, they need support, they need to talk things over, or they need someone to actually vigil with someone who's dying, I can do that.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find yourself in this line of work?
Well, I will preface that by saying that life is fab, life is brilliant, life is for living. And the work I do with the end of life is about the joy of living, because everybody is absolutely alive until they die. So until you're dead, you're very much alive. Mm-hmm. So it's the celebration of life. My whole work, my whole life is about celebrating life. I got into end of life work because I met somebody absolutely fabulous in 2007, having spent 10 years on my own, raising 3 children, and feeling that I would never find anyone, because I was such a busy, kind of wrung out mother, trying to make ends meet. And I did meet somebody who was completely beautiful. When we met, it was as if we hadn't been breathing till we laid eyes on each other. And 18 months after we met, he was dead, which was life-changing. And I feel that he was the absolute love of my life, and he died and left me a job to do. So that's how I got into it.
Life-changing in so many ways, meeting this man.
Well, it was, because in many ways it affirmed that I was just as lovable as anybody else, and that all my views of myself as unworthy and too bedraggled as a single mother, having got out of quite a difficult marriage to a very difficult person, though I do bless him because he gave me 3 beautiful children. It changed that kind of thinking that I was unworthy. It also showed me the power of the dying process, and it also showed me how much love that there is and there can be when we are facing the end of life and the chips are down and the truth has to be told.
I mean, it just sounds profoundly transformational.
It was. I must say that this was my first real experience of somebody dying, especially somebody I loved, and it did throw me back into a huge cycle of despair and distress. However, something had changed in my my outlook, in my spirit somehow, and I had seen somebody die well. I missed them, and I didn't know how to handle it, and I became extremely angry with everybody, and I did the grief reaction. And when you haven't experienced grief or seen it before, you may think that you're going mad, and I did think I was going mad, but I wasn't at all.
And am I right that you had the idea you wanted to paint him, to do his portrait through this dying process?
Yes. Now, I was and have been and am a professional artist, and a lot of what I do is always figurative. And I've done portraits for many years. I've done a lot of other things too. I do whatever my clients want me to do. So I couldn't get over the physical changes to this wonderful man whose name was Steve. So Steve's body was changing. He was losing weight. His eye colour, he was becoming jaundiced. There were all sorts of changes. Tiredness makes your skin a bit sallow. And I started to paint him because I couldn't understand what was happening. And I first of all, I wanted to hold on to this person that was disappearing in front of my eyes. And second of all, I was overwhelmed with respect and awe that he was having to take this journey and was doing it with so much courage. So I started to paint him as he was dying, and then on the day he died, I painted him when he was dead, without ever knowing what I was going to do with it. None of this was about public viewing.
It was your way to be with him intimately in some way, in the language that you understand and that you've lived in, which is the language of art.
Yes, exactly right, Nicole. Exactly right. That was my go-to place: creativity, expression, art, painting. when I look at the paintings, most of them I think are very beautiful because I think he was beautiful. They're quite raw to look at. Some of them, my emotions got in the way, and the painting is jagged. The lines are all jagged. I paint very realistically. I don't make think when I paint a portrait, it is exactly like the person. It's not invented. But some of the ones that I just couldn't cope. You can see in the lines, you can see in the colours. It's the energy of the painting is all disrupted and distracted and unfinished and kind of broken.
And documenting how you were at that moment.
Well, absolutely. And I did other paintings of my own state of mind. I did one little painting with a tiny faceless figure standing on their own in the centre of a big white space, and that was called Alone, and that's how I felt, just very, very alone. Yes, it was difficult, but it was worth it.
Well, I'm just thinking about, how people struggle in grief and how, you said you might think you're going mad, and it's not a graceful process. It can be ugly and jarring, and you can be in the fetal position, just, feeling like you can't stand one more minute of the pain. And there's something about how you processed it that just sounds so it just allowed the grief process to do what it needed to do, like metabolize, as you were painting, I imagine.
I think that's true. I think this feeling of going mad is because the whole of one's life has been turned upside down. Mm-hmm. And when you're in it, everything that formed your reference for the world you live in has been absolutely shattered and torn away. Mm-hmm. I used to say that before Steve died, I had a wonderful relationship with God, and he made flowers come out for me, and the birds sing in the trees for me. And the day Steve died, I just lost it. I thought, there is no God. I have been fooled not only by life, but by God himself, and the whole of life is a con. And I was so angry, and I did all sorts of irrational things, and I really thought that I was going mad. I really did. Luckily, I had friends and family who could hold me, and they were so good to me. But nobody could get through to me. I was in a terrible, terrible place, and the art helped me because I could just go in there. Mm-hmm. So if Steve died in 2007, I spent until 2009 in the studio going over and over these paintings, over and over, trying to work out what had happened. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I have had other very big losses since then, and that first grief that I went through, I don't say I suffered it, because I don't think we suffer grief. I think we go through grief. We come out the other side, unless of course we are psychotic, and that I know can happen, and that's different. But grief is a terrible thing. It is really painful, and it affirms us. It gives us some understanding of the depth of human experience. Mm-hmm. So when I actually married again many, many years later, and I lost that husband too, which is, yes, what can we say about that? But by the time I was able to be with my second husband when he died, I had been through enough to understand the process, though that didn't diminish the feelings of pain and hurt and grief. Mm-hmm. But it how can we say it? It is incredibly powerful. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very important when we get through that we understand that we are still alive and life goes on, and the experiences we've had will make us stronger and wiser, so much wiser.
It's some kind of an enrichment.
I think so. This whole journey of working with people at the end of life, I don't do it all the time because, people come and go, requests come and go. I do a lot of speaking to people one-to-one. I do a lot of answering questions, and people phone quite a lot or come round. Going to actually sit with people who are dying, I don't do that very often, though I can. It's because they've already got a network around them, and that network just needs the support. The person who's dying has already got medical help and community help. I guess I'm just going to mention here that my great passion in all the end-of-life work is that we are reminded that we already know what to do, and that when we are facing either our own or other people's endings, that we can be frightened and allow the professionals who are doing a wonderful job to take over, and that is not necessary. We already know how to love. We already know how to be with people. We can't do anything wrong. We fear that we'll say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. We won't. And I really, my work aims to educate people and to raise awareness, to tell them, actually, dying is a process. It's like life. It's the ending of life. And you don't have to run away from it. And you already have the skills to stay and love.
Oh, that must be really great to hear for people who feel lost and afraid, to know that all they have to do is just have that relationship with a person and love them.
That's it. Mostly, when somebody's dying, an aunt, a family member, somebody that you already know them. I had somebody contact me and say, what did she say? She said, I have received a letter or an email from somebody whose best friend is dying, and she doesn't know how to approach this best friend who's in the hospice, and she wants some advice. And she said, would you tell me what I have to tell this person? And the answer to that is, this is your best friend. What do you need anybody who doesn't know you to tell you? Go to your best friend and be her best friend. That's the end of it. Just love her. So that's a very good, I think, example of how we just need to be encouraged and reminded that we already know what to do.
Could you talk a little bit about the Graceful Death exhibition? It's so unique and so interesting. I know our listeners would like to hear more about that.
Well, definitely. Okay, so I painted Steve for 2 years, and then I decided to put on an exhibition in my house. And I wasn't sure whether anybody would come to it, because it was lots and lots of paintings of somebody else's dying partner and dead partner. But people came. They all came and started to talk, and I realised 2 things. First, I'm not the only person to be bereaved, and the second is that everybody has a story to tell about the end of life and nowhere to tell it. I started to get people to asking me, would I go and see their friend, their family member, this person, that person, with a view to painting them and talking with them. So that's how the Graceful Death exhibition actually started. And for about 6 years, I was asked to visit various people. I had some referrals from cancer units, and from palliative care units in hospices and hospitals around the country. And I would go and meet the person, and we would see whether we could work together. I knew that I was fine to work with them, but they didn't know who I was and what my motivation was. Who is this person who wants to paint me and talk to me? So we would meet, and I would reassure them that they were in control, that any image, words, anything that we used for the Graceful Death exhibition was to be passed by them first. Nothing would happen without their say-so. And we would start, and we would form a relationship, in which we had to form quite quickly because they were dying. And I would ask them, who are you and what do you want to say? We would work out how they wanted to be painted, so I would paint them exactly as they are, in wheelchairs, looking jaundiced, very thin, with tubes, or just sitting on the sofa with a terminal illness, but looking absolutely fine. And then we would do the words, and we would talk about what they wanted to say. So I have ended up with over 50 paintings and portraits of people who are talking about who they are and what this process means of end of life. None of it is gloomy. The people who I've interviewed do say, yes, I have moments of real darkness and sadness, but generally they're just living their lives. They may be in hospital, but they still like to watch television. They have, they still like to go on Facebook and all the normal things. And they want ice cream, and they like, they get annoyed and they have arguments. So they're just such normal people. So the exhibition includes all those portraits. I don't know if it's worth mentioning. I have a website which...
we're going to get to that. Don't worry.
Okay. But also there are stories. There is a lot of poetry and prose being sent in by members of the public, so that's all displayed. I have a lot of words. Sometimes I call it a wall of words, and I put all the words up on one wall, and people can read. I have a wonderful prayer bowl which has been donated, which holds blessed water, and we put into that beautiful stones in memory of loved ones. I have workshops, talks, discussions, question and answer sessions run by myself and other colleagues who work in end of life. And my the way they can come and work with me is if they are authentic and speak to people. I don't want any jargon. I don't want any medical jargon. I don't want any us and them. It's all about us together. Mm-hmm. So what else do we have? We have films. I've got videoed recordings. I've got music which has been specially composed for the exhibition.
It sounds like an elaborate installation.
It's a whole experience. It takes a couple of days to set up, and I take it around the country wherever it needs to go. And sometimes it goes to, often it goes to conferences and end-of-life conferences, to teaching hospitals, to, what do you call those places where you learn to be a priest? Seminaries.
Seminary,
yes. And
so
religious colleges.
What are you hoping people take from this exhibit?
Well, let's think. I might have to give you a long answer there.
Okay.
When people come into the exhibition, they are always moved, because the stories are very beautiful and very profound, and sometimes they're very sad, and the images are very striking. They're very, very realistic, and they're very normal. So what I want people to take from it is that dying is a part of life, and living is the thing that we concentrate on. We absolutely focus on living, and if you want to live well, it is wise to understand that you are mortal. you don't have to be afraid of your mortality, and you don't have to be constantly avoiding the fact that one day you'll die. It's a very good idea to hold that knowledge, to acquaint yourself with the process, acquaint yourself with the reality of it, in order that you can treasure the life that you have and do the best you can with it. So I want people to treasure their lives while understanding that the end will come, and also when the end does come, either for themselves or other people, that they feel equipped to take the journey with less fear than they think they might do. And also, and to have resources, because in the exhibition there are resources there, people to contact, people to talk to.
Wow. I mean, this is, I'm guessing, life-changing for many people who see your exhibit.
It can be. Some people can come with a huge amount of grief about something, and in the exhibition there is always somebody. There are about, maybe up to 5 dedicated listeners, people who can just listen. We don't cure, and we don't heal, and we don't solve, and we don't sort out. We just listen. We're just there. The exhibition is very loving. Sometimes people can come because they have a diagnosis and they're afraid to talk about it, and they find that they can talk about it. And we don't indulge. There's no indulgence in this. It's about absolute reality and love and kindness and more reality. And then you go away. I hope people go away feeling inspired, not feeling gloomy or oppressed, because then I would have utterly failed.
So this is like some kind of preparation or learning process. This is really what it looks like, and now go forward, go on and live your life.
Yes, and try not, you can't tell people not to be afraid, but try not to let fear get in the way, And I think when you have a kind of a recognition that one is finite, that mortality is our common gift, that really then how are we living today? What are we doing? Who are we? What are we doing about our own lives? What do we want? Have we got it?
How are we using the time?
Yes. Are we asleep? If we're asleep, should we wake up and take stock? What are our dreams? How do we are we allowed our dreams? Well, yes, we're allowed our dreams. We've got one life, get to know yourself, This is your time, your life.
Do you feel as though people are becoming more open to this message, just culturally? And I know, you're in the UK, and I don't know if you want to speak to internationally, but what's your sense of people's openness and willingness to start thinking and talking about end of life?
Well, I think that people really do want to talk about it. I think they really do. And I don't know about other countries. I know that there are many different cultures that have different approaches, and some sound absolutely amazing, like the Mexican Day of the Dead, which I'm not too sure of the details. I don't want to kind of tie myself in knots about that, but I do think that the Mexican Day of the Dead sounds wonderful. There are Buddhist traditions where death is something that's anticipated, and people meditate on it. But I think all of us people, whatever our culture, whatever our beliefs, whatever our nationality, we all have to do it. And I only speak to the people that I speak to, if you see what I mean. And I do think that, so many of us would love to sit down and actually ask all the questions that we don't feel we can, like what colour do you go when you die? You know, that kind of thing that we can't possibly ask that. Well, I say, if you're talking to me, ask it, you know, because this is all information. This is all reality. So I think people do want to know, and they want to know different kinds of things. Some people want to know the nitty-gritty, like, you know, how does a cremation work? How does the body burn? Some people want to know things like, can you sing to people who are dying? Some people might want to know, well, what does it look like? Some people might want to know, well, do I have to be there? Can I run away? Can I run away from anyone who's ill and dying? Can I do that? You know? So there's lots of questions.
I'm thinking about how your life has changed over the years, and how I imagine it would have been impossible for you to predict what you're doing now, and also the impact you must be having.
Do you know, I am very grateful to Steve, my darling Steve, for dying, though I miss him very much. I'm also grateful to all the other people who have died and shared their story. I'm grateful to my mother who died recently, my brother who died recently, and my husband who died recently. My feeling, and I don't know if anyone else will agree with this, is that everybody who dies leaves you a gift. And the question is, what is that gift? My mother's gift is love. My Steve's gift was to work in this way. My husband, Alan, who died recently, his gift was magnificence. He was absolutely magnificent. So I have been in the presence of a magnificent man, and wisdom. He was a wise man. My brother's gift, he was a Catholic priest, was ministry. I saw him I saw him in his ministry, and I saw how wonderful he behaved, how wonderfully he behaved to people. You know, and when the grief subsides, that is the time to try and look for the gift and to own it. My life has changed incredibly. I'm happier now than I have ever been, and I'm also aware that happiness is not constant. You know, that life will throw at us terrible things, and that's okay. That's okay. We can deal with it, you know. We can deal with it. And everything, what do they say? Everything that doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Well, and shows us who we are. Gives us wisdom, insight, shows us who our friends are, shows us what our path is. You know, shows us how resilient we can be.
Right. And this idea of that it's normal for sometimes life to feel brutal or to be brutal, that's part of life, that it brings you to your knees.
Without a doubt. And for some people, 95% of their life is like that. We know we can't, what can I say? Life happens to all of us. And our life is, it's our responsibility. We do the best we can in our lives. And it is a total myth to chase happiness and to chase the good things. The good things and happiness come alongside everything else. And, you know, we need each other. This is another thing which I think more and more, all of us in our own lives, with our own things that we're dealing with, we need each other. We do need each other for support, for friendship, for companionship, for love, for just that human contact. And I also think that life ebbs and flows. When you have become disconnected, when you are lost, when you are down, it's unlikely that that is the constant state for the rest of your life. You know, things go up and down. And sometimes I think when we are really, really down, we aren't just simply down. The other things can come into our distress and cheer us up without removing the downness. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, yes.
So it's never so simple that either life is good or bad. We have many layers of complexity.
The grey, living in that grey.
Living in that grey. And gosh, living in that grey. Absolutely. But I think one of our main questions in our lives is, who am I? Self-knowledge, who am I? Do I love myself? And I know that's such a trite thing. I mean, when people used to say to me, Antonia, love yourself, I always think, well, what the dickens does that look like, Does that mean I must have more chocolate? Do I...
Oh, my goodness. So is your writing mostly centered on these kind of themes, that you're celebrating life and these themes, or do you write about other topics as well?
Well, I do write about these themes, and I do write about all the thoughts I have, which is very much what I've been speaking about. I also have a book which I am working on at the moment about it's about my mother's dying and all the things that go towards being with somebody who's dying, and all the stories of the people in her past and who she is and who I am and the people around us. I'm working on that with the publisher at the moment. I have a blog which I write, and that's when Alan died, my blog was very much about the grief that I was feeling at the time. And I also have a one-woman show which was produced in 2016, just before my husband died. And I'm just going to mention it was called A Graceful Dying, and it was very amusing. It was serious, but it was also very amusing. But my dear husband Alan came to that to support me and sat with his eyes closed in the performances, because he knew that this was what he was going to be facing. What kind of amazing man is that? My goodness, what a wonderful man. Yes, so there's blogs, there's articles, there's a book in progress, there's a one-woman show which I'm now going to rewrite and take out on the road again next year, 2019, because the stories have changed. So yeah, that's good, isn't it? That's a lot.
That's a lot of activity and creation going on. Do you ever purposely put some of these more profound and rich and deep themes aside and just, walk on the beach on the coast near where you live and pick up seashells or something?
Do I have an off button?
Yes, thank you. Yes, much less trite. Yes.
I have such an off button. Yes. My lovely family is my off button. And my grandsons, who are so tiny, one is nearly 3, one is 1, and I have another grandchild on the way. They are so small and fat and beautiful and delicious that they just keep you in the moment. I also I love eating, so I will. And I've got loads of friends, so we spend a lot of time cooking and
Foodies.
eating. Foodies!
Yes, you're foodies.
Foodies, and yeah.
What do you love to cook?
Well, I'm a savoury person, and I'm a vegetarian. So I love, what do I love best? Cake. Having said I'm a savoury person, I also love cake. I love rice dishes. I love Greek food, Mexican food. I love Indian food. I think I just love food, Nicole. I just love meal times is good.
This, I think about kind of balancing out the end of life with this nourishing, focus on food and then squeezing your little grandchildren.
Absolutely. It is absolutely. I love candles that smell. I love lights. I love fairy lights. I practice Qigong, which is like meditation in movement. I love laughing. I love wit and humor. I love people who are clever with their words and make me laugh. I just want to keep them forever, So I have a lot of off times, and all this stuff that I'm talking about, I don't kind of inhabit that all the time, because otherwise I would be not only very boring, but I would probably be kind of burnt out. When I put the exhibition on, that's very, very intense for when the exhibition is on, and then I bring it home, put it back in my studio, and I cook up a big meal and put on bright colours and have bubble baths and lie around watching YouTube videos and
balance is so important, and to know when it's time to put it in the box and put it in the closet.
Absolutely. And also, I have built into my day every single day nothing time, which is just about me sometimes just lying down and looking at the ceiling because I fancy it, So I do have off button moments. Lots of them.
Wonderful. I do want to ask you to give us your contact information, because I know many of my listeners will want to learn more about you and all of your projects. So where's the best place to find you?
It's my website, which is www.antoniarolls.co.uk.
Okay.
And on there, I have information on soul midwifery, on a graceful death, and all the other painting work that I do, because I still take on portrait commissions. And my blog will be on there too. And when the book comes out, that will be on there. There will be, there's also email address for me on there. So should anybody want to get hold of me, then do. And I give a lot of talks and I give a lot of sessions, and I'm very happy to become involved with and listen to anybody who just feels they'd like to talk. That's what I do. So I am here by email, by phone, or whatever. So have a look at the website and see if anything resonates with you, and if you need to contact me, here I am.
That's the way. It's interesting because I've been looking at different end of life kind of people who do it, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm finding that the UK seems to be ahead of the curve on this, and I'm wondering, have you done any work with the Death Cafe or any of those kind of organizations?
Well, I haven't done any work with the Death Cafe. I think they have a very important part in the community. And you're right, the UK is really interested in this end of life business. Even the funeral parlours and the undertakers are beginning to change their business models, and we're taking on an awful lot of interest in green funerals and that kind of recycling minded funeral work. Oh, gosh, that sounds awful. You can't recycle a funeral, but you know what I mean. Green.
I understand. More ecological.
That's the word.
Yes, than all of the. It really hurts the landscape to do with the embalming fluid and the
Oh my goodness, and the laws here in the UK, that there aren't actually that many laws for funerals. If I wanted, I could have taken Alan back from the hospice here in the back of my car, wrapped in a sheet, and kept him at home. And then I could actually legally have buried him in my garden, providing,
Wow.
providing it's not near a water table and that the relevant authorities are alerted and it goes on the deeds of the house.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that's a very different view.
Well,
That's so interesting.
it's great, but not many people know that kind of thing. I don't think it's encouraged, so I don't think it's kind of well. but yes, we there are an awful lot of organisations. I've worked with the Living Well, Dying Well Foundation. I've worked with Good Life, Good Death, Good Grief in Scotland, and with the National Council of Palliative Care, and I've worked with Dying Matters, which is a wonderful organisation. Oh, lots and lots of different organisations. But I'm very much an individual. I'm a lone star. I'm a maverick. I like to work on my own with other people. I don't want to join anything. I'm best left to do this on my own and bring people in for projects and then come back to being on my own again.
That's good to know, I think. And at this age, you start learning how you work best.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Antonia, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. And I think that your work just sounds magnificent. I'm so glad that we were able to connect. And I am going to put up your contact information on my program notes, Antonia Rolls, ROLLS.co.uk. And I just wanted to say thank you for covering something that and talking about something that is still difficult, but so important.
Nicole, thank you so much. It was wonderful to speak with you. God bless.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share with some of your friends. I love to hear from my listeners. Send me an email at nicolechristina.com. And please consider becoming a patron of the show. You will get access to exclusive bonuses, and you will be part of the Zestful Aging community. Keep us going strong. Go to patreon.com/zestfulaging. See you next time for another episode of Zestful Aging.